Please put your hands together for David Heinen. On today's video, you're going to hear about some shoes from David Heinen.
Because when you're 20 years old, no one's allowed to mess with your life. Like, your life is your life. Nothing's going to change your world. Cue the Beatles song, right?
You know, the great thing about doing these videos is actually at the events that we host, I very often don't really get to hear the stories. Now, I'm in the room, I am semi-paying attention, but I'm also operating cameras. I am, producing the live stream and switching cameras. I do a lot of things, and I'm the go-to guy for if there's an issue. One time at one of our events, we had somebody get stuck in the women's restroom because the door jammed. It was unlocked, but the door would not open. No, I'm sorry. The bolt on the door wouldn't unlock, and so we actually had to kick out the vent on the door. And we were lucky enough that she was diminutive. I mean, she was really short and just tiny, and she was able to squeeze through the vent. So things like that happen. So I hear the stories, but I pay attention just enough to be able to get up and crack wise after the stories. So the great thing about doing these videos is I have to edit them, and then I actually get to hear the stories. And I'm glad that I did with this one. David tells a great story. It's funny, and it's somewhat serious, and I think it's a little self-deprecating. He talks about being a young 20-year-old. And I kind of take it as he's kind of recognizing his pretentiousness and kind of poking fun at it, but also finding beauty in the story. So yeah, that's that. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll get to the story in a second, but if you want to hit the subscribe button here on YouTube and the notification bell, leave us a comment, put a thumbs up on the video, share it with some friends, and then find the podcast on your favorite podcast app by searching Madison Story Slam. Hit subscribe there. And if you want to see the shows grow, both here on YouTube and on the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Madison Story Slam. We really appreciate all of our Patreons out there. You're making the world go round. You're making my world go round. Someday, my belief, my hope, my dreams are that I can quit my day job and produce Story Slam 24/7. No, not 24/7, but just make that my day job. So, all right, here's David Heinen telling a story about some shoes.
So this is a story of two black shoes. So I stumbled upon these two black shoes, literally. I tripped over them. I was walking up the hill back to my house. It's a very ramshackle house. I'm living in a tiny little town in Northwest Virginia. I'm working for a summer. I'm living with two friends. Ramshackle house. We live at the top of the hill. Walking up the hill, literally trip over the shoes. I do that kind of double take where you see something like on your lawn or something that's not supposed to be there, and you're like, are these? There's no one there, right? But you just expect that someone's kind of like looking like candid camera. And I realized okay, I don't know what's happening here. It wasn't like a great mystery. There were a couple explanations based on my neighborhood why there's random pair of black flats here. But I don't know what to do. I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? So I take the shoes, I put them on my porch. I'm literally 10 yards away from my porch. And I figure whoever left these shoes, they'll come back, they'll see them on the porch. Also, if they come back, I'll probably be on the porch waiting there. I'm always on this porch. You gotta understand, in this tiny little town in Northwest Virginia, this is the Shenandoah Valley. It is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. The Blue Ridge Mountains are framed on the horizon, very well named. It's literally a blue ridge, this soft shade of blue, beautiful mountains. I sit on the porch every night. I eat my dinner, maybe play my guitar, read my couple pages of Swan's Way or whatever I was reading at the time. And sometimes I would just sit and think and just get lost in the view in the mountains. Because you understand, these clouds are rushing over when the sun is high. You can see the shadows of the clouds on the mountains. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The porch was my sanctuary, right? I absolutely loved it there. It was untouchable. It was inviolable. It was like my cathedral. So I take these shoes, I put them on my porch, and they like become a little part of the little porch ecosystem. The most amazing thing happens. Over a couple weeks, nobody touches the shoes, nobody comes. But this friendly little spider spins a web, I have them like nestled right next to a column, right? This little spider spins a web connecting the shoes to the column, to the floor. And nobody touches the spider web like for weeks. Like the very improbability of this spider web, there was something so decadent about it. It was incredible. It was almost as if this spider web was like a wall, and like just like the porch was untouchable, it was my space. This spider web was never going to be broken. It's just like the future was never going to come, and I was always going to be 20 years old, and everything was going to be golden and rich. Foreshadowing, right? It wasn't destined to last. So what happened was I had two roommates, and they both smoked cigarettes, which is like not a big deal. But it was at the time because I was 20 and was at the peak of my self-righteousness. And it wasn't even so much the fact that they smoked, because even then I was like, some people smoke, some people don't. It was the reason why they smoked. They had stupid reasons. Not going to go into it. But we had talked about it. Like, it was a point of tension in the house. They knew how I felt. I knew how they felt. Like, we weren't going to go through it. I didn't want them to smoke in the house. I didn't want the house smelling like smoke. I didn't want to see cigarette butts. They're tacky. So one day, I'm sitting on the porch doing my usual, routine, like reading or thinking or just on the phone or something, I don't know. And I look over and I see, are the two shoes, have they moved? And the spider web is broken. I'm looking over, there's something like tan or orange in one of the shoes. Is that like a sock? It's cigarette butts. Kills me, irks me so bad. Because when you're 20 years old, no one's allowed to mess with your life. Like, your life is your life, nothing's going to change your world. Cue the Beatles song, right? So I'm very upset. What to do about it, right? I can't talk to my roommates. It's been talked to death. I can't empty the shoe of the cigarette butts. That's way too passive aggressive, right? And what would I even tell them? Don't sit on the porch at the house where you live. What do I say? So what to do? I'm thinking. I'm at the farmer's market one day, and along with my produce, the farmer slips in a couple packets of seeds, right? I don't know why, but some sort of promotional thing or something. So I have seeds now, like corn seeds or something. Where should I plant them? I'm planting plants. I'm 20 years old. I'm living in Virginia. It's beautiful. I've got a basil plant and everything. So I'm sitting on the porch thinking, notice the two shoes, and I see and I think, there are two shoes, right? Just like there are two sides to the great duality of the universe, right? So I get to thinking, and again, when you're 20 years old, everything's very symbolic, right? Everything's meaningful. Everything's art, with a capital A. So I take one of the shoes. I don't even touch the hateful, death-filled cigarette butts shoe, the ashtray. I take the other shoe. I fill it up with dirt from under the porch. I plant the seeds a couple inches apart, right? Read the instructions and everything. I'm watering the plants, put it back down. Keep watering, you get sprouts. Keep watering, a couple weeks pass, you get shoots. All of a sudden the shoots are like a foot high. And then one day, I look over and I see these two shoes. One of them's filled with, cigarette butts. The other one has foot-long corn sprouts. And it's just so beautiful, right? It's like yin and yang, death and life. And I sit there on the porch, mountains framed in the distance, and I just realized that I, at 20 years old, had brought balance to the universe. So, did my roommates learn their lesson after I had hit this breaking point and, planted the seeds and everything? Did my roommates learn the lesson looking at these two? I had to throw it in there. Looking at the seeds and seeing the symbolism or the sprouts or whatever. Did they learn their lesson? Did they internalize it? Did they change their ways? I have no idea. We moved out. I never saw them again. But I'll always remember being 20 years old in a tiny little town in Northwest Virginia, sitting on that porch with these 2 black shoes. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So what you're trying to tell us is you are the one whom the prophecies foretold. You bring balance to the universe.